Mr. Elliot.
Mr. Ron, what's the deal, my brother?
How are you, man?
Dude, I'm great, brother. And before we even start, I want to let all our listeners know that you granted me a an interview probably about 3 or 4 years ago when I was just starting this whole thing that became a podcast. And I want you to
Mm.
know that you've always I have a warm heart, a warm place in my heart for you because you didn't have to do that at the time, man. And I've always appreciated that about you. You are exactly what you talk about. You are a real human.
Wow.
Dude, for real.
Mm.
For real. I'll never
Oh,
forget that. You didn't have to do it. Most people were saying, no, Elliot, I won't interview with you. You took the time out to do it, man. I'll never forget that, man.
oh, man. Now those are, there's a saying that I've often remembered through the years,
Yeah.
and I can hear it in your voice when you say this. That those are apples of gold in settings of silver.
Hmm.
And I received those words, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And just to go back a little bit, folks, we have Mr. Ron Kardashian, solutionist, strategist, 30-second solution author. All right, and of course, above all, real person, human. But
Hmm.
Ron, you have a last name. Your last name happens to be Kardashian. So just for anybody that doesn't know, can you give them the history of the most popular name in recent history, and you have it as your last name?
It's probably the weirdest thing in the world to. I mean, I've been a strength coach, as far back all the way as pro athletes
I
when I was
remember. Yep.
just out of high school, right? And my passion for health and fitness, right? And diving in as an obese child, going through attention deficit disorder. I'm very candid as I was on your last interview. I remember it
Yeah.
quite well, actually. Just going through neurological problems and being off to one doctor to the other and going through emotional name calling and, we call it bullying now,
Right.
which is why I'm such an advocate now of consideration towards human life and dignity. But and then fast forwarding now 20 years as being a coach into personal development, helping people as I helped myself get rid of the obesity problem, and now I'm a 185, trying to push 10% body fat.
Let's go.
But I
Let's
am
go.
over 40 now, so
Hey, you and I both.
right?
Yeah, it gets harder.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So then to wake up one day and your last name is the subject of 30 million Google hits.
Yeah.
How does a human being process that? And for me, I never changed.
Yeah.
I am still doing what I've been doing, and quite frankly, the name for me is just a name.
Right.
And in fact, this has now become part of my message, Elliot, that just because you have a name or you're a no name doesn't make you anybody. You still are a unique creature, handcrafted by the Creator himself.
That's right.
With a divine purpose and destiny. And no names have the same power, virtue, priority, precedence, VIP, red carpet status than somebody that does have a name.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and the insight that you've always had, and this was our conversation 4 years ago, has remained the same. You haven't seemed to change amongst the entire globe, changing around you, and I think that's why I've always gravitated to your message and your social media, and just have followed you because it struck me as odd. You have all the tools by your disposal to sort of take advantage of everything, and you haven't.
Yeah.
So I think that's odd in this world. It's an actual oddity.
Well, it is odd, but this is what I'm coaching now. I mean, I live, eat, breathe my life as a coach. I know I was born to be a coach, and now I'm helping other people discover their destiny. And really, this has become the topic amongst United States government officials,
Yeah.
which now I'm consulting at that level, all the way down to a guy who's a hard-nosed, blue-collar sales guy in the trenches just trying to afford his mortgage for him and his two kids.
Right.
To me, there is no distinction between a position of authority and a man trying to support his family. And I've kept that mindset. And to your point about not changing, is that in a world that's ever changing, people are looking for consistency.
Hmm.
And Elliot, you know, above all people, that is the key to optimizing health and nutrition, that you have got to be constant in your diet.
Without a doubt.
You have to be constant in your exercise regimes.
Yeah.
And if we breach those parameters via, gosh, you know, I could have cheat days mentally,
Yep.
you know, where I want to answer the call from the Hollywood producer.
Yep.
But this has been the key to discovering destiny, is that I can't cheat if I want to stay ripped. I've got to stay ripped mentally.
Right.
I have to stay ripped genuinely. I have to stay ripped spiritually, which are just as important. And so now what I'm advising world leaders and even leaders like you is that find your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens in your life or the business opportunities that come your way, the real wealth and the real success will be found in the passion of your own heart. And you will become successful because you did not breach or cheat the opportunity.
Well, listen,
and stay true to your calling.
Listen, Ron, I mean, I can't even say it better than you have, because when people ask me for nutritional advice, I say, well, the nutrition plan I give you is not a 30-day, it's not a 30-month, it's a, as long as you live, eating routine. So are we ready to start? And that's the difference.
That's it.
That's the difference.
You got it, baby.
Yeah, and to follow up, you mentioned you're advising government officials. Can you speak more about that?
You know, it's a new territory for me.
Yeah, sounds great, because we need
I've
more.
Never been
we need more, people of your nature speaking to people in this government, because there seems to be a disconnect. So that's great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I am learning diplomacy as I've aged. I have found that the more transparent I am to break down the facade about how flawed I am seems to attract a greater level of man and woman into my life. And the doors that have opened there have been doors that men are longing for confidence, men that are longing for justice, men that don't want to just be a talking head, but they want to actually be men of virtue and substance. So it's actually been really, it's an honor, Elliot, to establish a man or a woman's cognitive fitness that they must have in order to run big government.
Right.
Because, boy, if you start this path of bureaucracy or trying to win people by the eloquence of your speech, and you have no integrity in your private life, these are the guys that are falling faster than flies.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it seems that all the materials is coming to the surface. There's a different frequency now where we're more in tune, and we have social media to thank for that, but we're more in tune to the information, what's behind the curtain, if that makes sense, and all of that's being divulged. So there's no more hiding your lack of integrity. It's out there for the globe to see now.
Let me create a parallel for your listeners, which you are going to love.
Okay.
To really understand what's happening worldwide.
Okay.
Personal life, private life, for celebrities, for world leaders. Everyone is going to go through this.
Okay.
And I'll use an analogy of a bodybuilder that prior to a competition, you know this the best, Elliot, those pictures you have, you sure are staying ripped. So you might have to give me some coaching when we get done.
Absolutely.
But yeah, see, look at iron sharpens iron through conversation.
That's right.
As one man sharpens another. This is part of the problem, is that most men or women are too prideful to ask for help. Yeah. And that's another conversation. But the ones who do are growing higher and higher and higher. Hence, some of these government officials who are calling me saying, hey, I need some insight in this direction. I don't want to be public about this, but I need to sharpen my marriage. I need to sharpen my decisions, right? Boom, boom, boom. But as a bodybuilder prepares for the stage, he goes through several feats of his own personal life. We know carb depletion. We know he has to regulate potassium, and he has to get into a level of optimization. So when he hits the stage, he then covers himself in an oil. Now, the purpose of the oil before the bodybuilder hits the light, follow these analogies now, is to accentuate the cuts.
Right.
Am I right?
Absolutely. Right on
If
target.
a man or a woman does not prepare in their private life and tries to step on the stage of light,
Yes.
the stage of life, the light will expose the lack of definition. And
Yep.
instead of crucifying a man for having flaws in his body,
Uh-huh.
we as bodybuilders and professionals go, well, look, man, at least the guy had a cool double bicep.
Yeah.
I mean, he may not have had his lower abs in, but did you see his quad? And so I want to encourage your viewers to mature as their bodies have matured and as they've gotten more defined, to help a culture understand every man or woman is going to hit that light, and every one of us is flawed.
Hey, Ron, I'll take it a step further. As we age, the same bodybuilder at 20 isn't the same bodybuilder at 30 or 40. So you learn.
Come on, man.
Instead of just concentrating on a curl, just identifying one muscle, you better start identifying through compound movements instead of isolation exercises. You better start identifying tensile strength, because those tendons and ligaments hold the whole frame together. And if you want to take it a step further than that, you better identify your dietary habits so that internally you're functioning as well as aesthetically. So I'm right on that with you. I'm right on. And that, my friend, is balance. That is balance, where in any light, 365 days a year, in any light, you're going to shine underneath that light.
Hey, why do you think I haven't taken some of these opportunities? I don't want to be under the light like my family is. Man, I'm too flawed.
I hear you, brother.
However, you know what I'm saying? I'm not interested. It's okay what my family's doing. Let them do that. I'm a distant cousin.
Yeah.
I don't even know them.
Yeah.
But the thing is that in order to carry a big name like this, you better know your big calling. Because when the light does hit you in your career, and it has hit me in certain places.
Well, I remember TMZ ran up on you, right? TMZ ran up with their cameras a couple of years ago, and I remember that.
Yep, a couple of years ago, and well, you know, we know TMZ's all about trash and gossip. But one of my advisors said, "I want TMZ to run up on me. You know, you got a message, Ron."
Yeah.
And so I tell people this all the time, that I've never been interested in fame, but I have been interested in influence. So if taking the right position, right in that light, will give me the right influence, I got to make sure I'm walking this talk, man, because our culture has been far too let down by leaders who have risen and fallen, and people have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
So I humbly admit it, man. I've had a lot of growing up to do. I've had to learn some things, you know what I mean, on the backside of the wilderness. Yeah. And when God sees fit, as you know, I'm a spiritual guy, He'll put me where I need to be, but until then, I'm going to stay where I'm meant to be.
And you know what's interesting, Ron? You know, a couple of years ago, and you've been at the forefront of this, which I'm seeing sort of mature now. This whole, you're a strategist, a solutionist. You give that free. It's almost like a freemium model of information that could help people. And now you were doing that years ago, and I remember that. And now you see like a Gary V, and you see all these guys sprouting up who are carrying like a similar message. But I know, I've done the research and I've spoken to you. You were talking about this 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. I was so grateful to. Well, look, this was something that was given to me as the grace of God, man. I believe that, it's kind of like a guy being born with genetics, right?
Yep.
We all, thank God, I had good calves. Right, but all my buddies were like, "Man, I need some calf implants." Back in the day, right? We were talking about guys who had underdeveloped calves; they just could not get them to pop.
Yeah.
Well, the same happens for a man or a woman when they're born. That they're born with certain gifts, and this was just a genetic thing that I can't even take credit for. That right out of high school, my number one job or gift was caring for people. I mean, I was on my way to become first a doctor. By my mother's influence, she was a major of gerontology, so I grew up kind of in a medically based mindset by my mother's influence. And then I got hit spiritually, so I was going to become a priest.
Wow.
And that didn't work because I needed to be married, and thank God I have my beautiful Tia now. Because boy, man, I was burning. and But you look at those two and you go, man, the congruent element was become a doctor, become a priest, and become a coach.
Yeah.
Well, it's the best of both. And a spiritual advisor
That's right.
now.
That's right.
To world leaders that are getting closer to the sunset of their life.
Yeah.
Was the blend of a gift called nurturance. That I was always a nurturer. And, this is what we're doing now for Fortune 500 companies. 20 years later, I've developed a intellectual property of my technology that we now can assess a human being's giftings. We have the literal technology, Elliot.
Genetic
you
technology?
You and I haven't talked about this, but artificial intelligence, I'm adding to it. Facial recognition, we're adding to it. But it's behavioral assessing. But having the right technician
I like that.
To observe the X-ray of your life, that is the key.
That is.
And this is what my whole practice is established on. Is not let me just check your body fat, but let me check your neurological fat.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some areas where maybe you might be insecure, right? To prepare you for the stage.
Yes.
Now, that, right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Now we're doing it. We're doing it.
This is awesome, Matt, because when I train people now, as opposed to when I was training people when I was 20, I'm 42 now. Now I want to make sure we train for balance and stability, both physically and mentally. I got to make sure you're balanced and you're stable. I want to promote central nervous system, it becoming sharper and more efficient. So those things are way more important now as we get older than having just aesthetics on the stage. And going back to what you just said, I think you just hit it on the head because genetics right now, genetics, we're going to be able to understand so much more about the individual. The individual's genetics is going to tell everybody what their nutrition should be, where their state of mind is, what their hobby should be, what they're more inclined to do and succeed in this world, their gifts kind of. And if you add in what you just said, which is getting their social media biometrics, that biometric data, man, that's right on target, dude. Right on target.
Isn't it, though?
Couldn't agree more.
You're so right. You're right, buddy, because we knew this laboring in the gym. You have to remember that in the early stages of my career, I was working 200 hours personal training in the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 12,000 hours of one-on-one patient care.
Yeah.
I cut my teeth helping people get in shape.
That's right.
And 90% of it, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, you know this, 90% was neurological, cognitive behaviors.
Yes.
And now you mentioned government officials. We've just gone from the weight room to the boardrooms, as I've always said.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That the parallel is the same.
Yes.
So I really want to encourage your listeners that you are a lot more gifted than you give yourself credit. Yeah, you're beautiful people in the fitness industry. We I always tell people I had a problem spending 150 hours in front of a mirror every week. Too many hours, right?
It is too many hours. It's vanity and it's
right,
aesthetic.
Too many hours.
For sure.
Yeah, it's aesthetic and vanity. And, we all go through those chapters.
Yes.
But now take your vanity and go help other people get free of it.
That's right.
Go help these guys that are so caught up and give them the neurological diet that they need in order to create the life of peace, longevity, contentment, the real wealth, Elliot.
Absolutely.
For their families and for their legacy.
Exactly, their legacy, long term. Ron, what current, besides, which all sounds great, what you just told us your projects you're working on, can you discuss any other projects that you're currently or going to be working on in the future?
I've been approached by several networks through Hollywood. I've declined 80% of them just because of my, you got to stay focused,
Gotcha.
But now I've come to the point where I do want to do a reality talk show. I use the word reality because it's so big, but for me, it comes from the root word real.
Yeah.
And this is why we love reality. Hence the word real, hence the word revelation, where you are speaking about things that are real and raw to you. And so I just started this. You can join me on my YouTube channel. We just started the channel. I've got maybe 1,000 or 500 people that have just joined. But I was always advised that I got paid to speak, so don't speak unless you're paid. And now I've got kind of a different take on that because my heart is to help.
Right.
And so I'm going to be giving away kind of these nuggets. I do it already right on my Twitter feed, and my Facebook, and all of that stuff. But that's one of my main projects is launching this television show. It's just going to be called Live with Ron and Tia Kardashian.
Nice.
And we're going to get raw and real and interview some world leaders and everyday people. And then the second one that I'm super, super excited about, in fact, we're opening up right now to investors, is developing this artificial intelligence technology, because the mission of it, and this is really key for some of your listeners, that I'm not inventing a technology. Our mission of the company is to empower mankind with the tools to identify their strengths.
Right.
Much like Steve Jobs did, where when he invented Apple Computer, it wasn't to invent a new iPhone. He wanted, one of his statements was to impact a culture. Right. It was kind of an offshoot, right? Instead of technology, it was, what's the deeper meaning behind what you do? Right. And so the common theme, whether it's writing books or speaking engagements, which I'm taking more of now, or television appearances or interviews like you're so gracious to have me on, is keep to your life mission. And much like mine, it continued to empower people to dream better, live better, go bigger.
Ron, man, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Just before we get out of here, can you give everyone your social media? I know you gave them the YouTube. Just if you could just give that one more time. All your social media handles, any websites you want people to follow you on?
Yeah, my main one now is Le Confidant. It's French for the confidant. That's main baby, where I've kind of turned from the strength coach to the confidant. So LeConfidant. Le Confidant. You can also find me at Elite Level Coach. Shoot me an email at elitelevelcoach.com, info@elitelevelcoach. And of course, my Twitter handle is @Ron Kardashian. Make sure it's RON, not ROB. Bless my cousin's heart. But everyone gets me and him mixed up all the time. But Rob, if you're listening, you need to call me, man. I got love for you, man.
Shout out, Rob. Rob, we could all work out together, brother.
That's right. That's right. I got a good trainer for you, Elliot, right here. Ron Kardashian, Twitter handle @Ron Kardashian, and of course you got me at the official Ron Kardashian at Facebook.
Folks, we're lucky enough to have Ron Kardashian. My brother, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I mean, when you come to New York, we gotta somehow link up, man. When you come to New York, or where you at now? You in LA?
Silicon Valley. We moved out of Silicon Valley. My wife's mother has passed into the sunset of her life, and so we moved back up here to take care of her. And, but we know that this is home, so and of course, starting a technology company, man, you got to be in the Silicon Valley.
You got to be there,
I am here for any of your viewers. If anybody wants to bounce something off, they got a question, Elliot, if you want to shoot me an email, I'll be more than happy to answer it.
And folks, he's working on the AI project, so if you're a coder out there, you're a programmer, hook up with Ron, find him, okay?